Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465, aka Nate Murphy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today, talking about, or in a way continuing, my Texas Chainsaw Massacre reviews. I haven't done a video about Texas Chainsaw Massacre in probably a year, maybe even two. It's been a long time since I've done a video about, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I had recently seen this movie, and since it ties in with the Texas Massacre franchise, I figured I would review it, and also it would count as a continued review for the franchise. Like, this is another review for the franchise. And even though this movie, you can kind of barely consider it a Texas Chainsaw movie, because it barely is. I still want to talk about it. Still want to do a review on it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to do. I want to talk about it. And the film that I want to talk about is Leatherface from 2017. Gets a 5.0 on IMDb. Directed by Alexandra Bustillo and Julian Murray. Now, Alexandra Bustillo had done a segment on ABC of Death Part 2. Also did Inside, which I like Inside. I guess, kind of technically speaking, I do, or I would have. Also directed a movie called Livid, and also Among the Living from 2014. But Inside is an interesting movie because I like the film up until the ending, but that ending just kind of ruins it for me. If it didn't have an ending, I would say that I really enjoyed Inside. But that ending, really the ending kind of ruined it for me. And I'll get to that review one day. I've reviewed it before, but I want to get to another review to it one day. I'll probably have to pick it up and watch it again because I don't have the DVD anymore. But if somehow, some way I end up watching Inside again, I'll do a review on it. But I like the movie till the end. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to do any of that. That'll be to that review. But all I'll say, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, is that they build up to something and it doesn't happen. They build it and build it and build it, and they make it as dramatic and climactic as they can, and then they just squander it. They smash it to pieces, and then the ending sucks. That's pretty much my problem with Inside, is that it has and that movie has so much going for it. It has a good storyline, good gore effects, excellent makeup effects. Kept it 100% practical in that movie, and I really enjoyed that. Had some fantastic makeup effects. Had great suspense, great atmosphere. This director definitely knows how to handle an atmosphere, and it even shows in this movie, Alexander Bustillo. The second director, I'm not too sure on. I'm not even sure why there's two directors, honestly. Which this person has only directed, I guess, was also the second director on Inside, Livid, Among the Living. So pretty much, I don't know if they just make movies together. Julian Murray and Alexandre Bustillo. Maybe they do. Maybe that's just what happens. They make movies together. I'm guessing so. I'm getting blown up on the messages. Sorry about that, guys. You guys can hear that. I'm getting blown up. But yeah, Alexander Bustillo, Julian Murray, both directing this movie. They both directed Inside. They both directed the segment ABC of Death. So I'm guessing they direct a lot of movies together. I'm assuming so. And basically, this movie, if you watch this, this really is not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. And if you're gonna go into and expect it to be, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you can go into this movie with an open mind, I feel like you're going to really enjoy it. Because, shockingly, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this much more than Texas Chainsaw 3D. That movie is alright. It's so-so. But it has more problems with it than this movie does. This movie, I feel like it knows what it's trying to do. And it approaches it in a very serious, very grotesque. I mean, it is a prequel to Texas Massacre. It involves Leatherface in it, but it's kind of like one of those prequels that I didn't expect, because when I first heard about it, I was expecting to be, and by the way, this is a spoiler review. Spoiler review. If you have not seen this movie, This is a spoiler review. You guys know how I am. I usually do reviews, and they're usually spoiler reviews. So this is a spoiler alert, spoiler review. All right? Okay? All right. But this movie is definitely not your average chainsaw movie. I feel like certain fans will like that, certain fans won't. Personally, me as a fan, I really enjoy it because this is really one of those franchises that, you know, does its own thing with each sequel. Now, granted, I don't like part four, but part four kind of tried to do its own thing. I can say that I don't like the movie. I think it sucks. I think there's only a couple good things in that movie, like Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger, and I thought that it tried, I guess, to be a little bit more of its own thing, but the movie it's garbage. I really can't think of anything as far as Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger and maybe it trying to be different. Um, but what I love about this franchise is that each sequel does its own thing. You have part two, which is a hilarious movie that at the same time is still gory, still grotesque. You have part three, which is a very dark, moody, kind of like a rock and roll type chainsaw movie. You got the remake and prequel that sort of do their own thing with the Thomas Hewitt storyline. You have 3D, which kind of it failed in my opinion, but at least it tried it, where it tried to make Leatherface the good guy. Now, granted, they tried to do the same thing in Devil's Rejects, and I feel like both those movies fell flat because you have a group of murderous people in Devil's Rejects who rape people, kill people, murder people, torture people, and you're supposed to feel sympathy for them because there's a sheriff hunting them down one by one. I don't feel sympathy for those people because, they are what they are. They're murderous maniacs. Now, I get it. It's like, well, it's Friday the 13th. You don't root for the teens mostly. You root for Jason. That's different. That's it done well. I can root for a Michael Myers or for a Freddy Krueger or for a Jason Voorhees. But in Devil's Rejects, it's like they create these bad guys, and then right at the end of the movie, they just try to make you like them. And it's not like they're trying to build it up. It's not like they're trying to have them where they're questioning their motives. Like, Last House on the Left did that better, where you hate the bad guys, but you can kind of see that even they are kind of just taken away from what they've done. They're disgusted. They're grossed out. But in Devil's Rejects, it's like, throughout the entire movie, you're supposed to hate these people. And at the very end of it, they try to make them go like heroes. And you're supposed to root for them and be happy that, yeah, they went out like heroes. And I was just like, man, justice was served. That's all I can say. Because I didn't really care for the fact that they were trying to make these characters good guys. For me, it just it didn't make a lot of sense. And they tried doing the same thing in Texas Chainsaw 3D, and I just don't feel like it was done well. I feel like it was kind of forced. It was kind of like, and I get it. It's like, well, it's Leatherface. It's one of your favorite horror icons. I mean, how can you not root for him? It's like, in a way, I guess you can root for him, but to straight up make him and this murderous, maniacal family just try to make them look like the good guys and feel sympathy for them, it doesn't work, especially if you try to force it onto the audience. Now, if it's done naturally, and you do it, and you build it, and you build it, and you do a couple sequels, maybe build that a little bit, and it's a strong story behind it, then you can probably pull that off. There's been stories where there's been these really awful people, but it's like you kind of feel a little bit of sympathy for them, or, you kind of feel like maybe, they're trying to make him a little bit of a good guy at least. But with those kind of movies, like Texas Chainsaw 3D, Devil's Rejects, I feel like those both fell flat on their face with that. And this movie really is not a Chainsaw Massacre movie. There really is, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, one scene that I can remember of the chainsaw. Now, you have a prequel to a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's only one scene with the chainsaw. You're probably going to upset some fans. Now, this is coming from the guy who loves Jason Goes to Hell. I love Jason Goes to Hell. I love Halloween 3. I love Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Huge fan of that movie. There's a lot of movies that I've seen that does not involve original killers or involve original plot lines. that I can really enjoy. And I can definitely add this to that list because really, it has Leatherface in it, but not the way that we know him. It's sort of like the normal Leatherface before he became crazy. Really, we don't see the real Leatherface until the very end of the movie, and we don't get a chainsaw to the very end of the movie as well. So if you're expecting, Leatherface being there and chainsawing people up, and if you're expecting all that, you're gonna probably be really disappointed because it's not like that. It's much more of a different kind of take on an origin story. Definitely did its own thing, and I can really respect that. The story is basically about, you have Leatherface when he's a kid, or Jedediah Sawyer, which I kind of think that this is probably a sequel to Texas Massacre 3D, which, if that's the case, or not a sequel, but a prequel, my bad. But if that's the case, then this will be the first movie that really is connected to a sequel. Now, granted, it's a prequel, but this would be the first time in the entire franchise that a movie connects to another sequel. Because you think about it, Part 2 has nothing to do with Part 3, and Part 3 doesn't have anything to do with Part 4. Although it's weird because Part 4 mentions two minor events. But the movies, they really don't connect. They're not supposed to connect anyways. So really, this is the first movie to connect to a previous sequel. Now, granted, is it a sequel connected to a sequel? No, it's a prequel connected to a sequel. But still, 3D was a sequel to Part 1, and this movie is a prequel to the 3D and Part 1. So I'm guessing this is probably the first time we actually have a couple of movies connect in this franchise, which is pretty cool. The story is pretty much you have Jedediah Sawyer. He starts off as a kid. He wears this cow head mask for his first mask. His family is crazy, psycho cannibalistic family. You have a scene where they kill the sheriff's daughter, sheriff played by Stephen Dorff, and basically they kill his daughter. He gets really upset about it, goes completely psycho. You have Leatherface. The family's trying to force him to kill somebody, but he won't do it. The sheriff gets mad at the family, knows it was them, even though they deny it. He takes away all the children from the Sawyers, and then it follows in an asylum for a little bit, and you get introduced to these new characters like Bud. You get introduced to this nurse character, Jackson, and these two other crazy, pretty much sex maniacs. And there's basically Leatherface's mom shows up, causes a riot at the place, and pretty much the main characters of the story get out of the asylum. And from there on, we're kind of following them and trying to see who is Leatherface in this group. Because I thought it was this character named Bud, or Bub, whatever his name was. Is this huge guy wears the same clothes as Leatherface. This is kind of bullcrap. He wears the same exact clothes as Leatherface. He doesn't talk. He's a huge dude. He kills people like Leatherface does. He drags dead bodies like Leatherface does. He acts like Leatherface does. And I've already said spoiler alert, so if you're watching this point, once again, spoiler alert, you found that he's not Leatherface. It's actually this other guy named, I believe, Jackson. And it really is confusing because, this guy, Jackson's this little itty-bitty kind of normal dude who doesn't seem crazy at all. There's a few points where he snaps. If somebody hits him, he just completely snaps and beats them up. But there's not really, any clear inclination that, he is Leatherface. It's just maybe he snaps a couple times here and there. This other guy just straight up murders people, and yet he's not Leatherface. This big old huge dude, 7-foot tall guy who is exactly what Leatherface should be is not Leatherface. And granted, the twist worked, I guess, because I wasn't expecting it. But I was kind of like, okay, bullcrap, complete bullcrap. And pretty much the rest of the movie plays out. You have Stephen Dorff chasing him around, and we found that who that person is Leatherface, and he murders somebody by accident. He murders like a cop or something like that, and he gets shot right here, gets his like jaw pretty much blown off almost, and you find that's why he can't talk anymore. That's why he can only groan and stuff like that. Um, and it starts to explain some things, and I'll get into some of the problems in a second, but the good things that it's shot very well. It has its own atmosphere to it. These directors definitely gave it its own kind of feel, its own atmosphere. It's a very dark, brooding atmosphere. I really like that. I like a lot of the characters in the movie, like Jackson, Bub, the nurse character. They were all good characters and good acting in this movie as well. Um, I like the crazy sex maniac couple. They were just freaking out of their minds and crazy, and they do a lot of freaking crazy stuff in this movie, and they are just insane. And the actors did a really good job of playing these insane psychopathic characters. And I like how it went a total different direction in the prequel, because I was expecting just Leatherface on the farm, growing up, and then becoming an adult, and then doing all the basic stuff the prequel does. No, this prequel makes you guess. You're not really sure what's going on in a good way. It's like you're not really sure who Leatherface is. You're not really sure, what this sheriff is gonna do, how far he's gonna go. He ends up murdering one of the crazy sex maniac couples, like the girlfriend of this guy, and Bud ends up murdering the guy. And there's some crazy stuff in this movie. It definitely keeps with practical effects. It's definitely gory. So if you were looking for gore in this movie, it's definitely gory. It's definitely shocking. So if you look at it, it still has those core things that makes a Chainsaw Massacre movie a Chainsaw Massacre movie. It's shocking. It's gory. It's it keeps you guessing. It's a high tension type movie. It has all those elements, but the interesting thing about this movie is that it does it successfully and in such a different way. And I can really say that I enjoy that. I think this movie is great for that. Now, is it flawless? No. Is it like as good as part 2 and 3? I wouldn't say it's as good as parts 2 and 3. But I can definitely say it's up there with like the remake and the prequel, and it's definitely up there. It's definitely better than part 4. Miles better than part 4. It's definitely better than part 3D. I would say it's about in between the remake and the prequel. About right there. Because it would go original, part 2, part 3, prequel, then Leatherface, and then the remake, and then 3D, and then part 4. That's pretty much how I rank the Chainsaw Massacre movie, which I've already ranked them, but kind of update that a little bit for you guys. It does everything that you expect from a Chainsaw Massacre movie, only in a very different way. And you may like it, you may hate it. It's a 5.0 on IMDb, which is really low. I don't know how much money it made, so I'm not sure if we're going to get like a sequel to this or not. I'm not too sure. Fast-paced movie, very fast-paced movie. Short movie, goes by in a flash. You have a lot of like disturbing stuff in this movie. And you have a necrophilia scene in this movie, which is freaking creepy. It is freaking creepy. It's gross. It's weird. And it's crazy. So yeah, you have a necrophilia scene in here. You have a scene where they're in the restaurant and people are getting shot and practical effects. You have a car chase. You have like a bunch of different stuff in this movie. And it makes it a very good movie. Now the problems is that a lot of the stuff they try to twist you with, like shock you with and stuff like that, didn't make sense. Like how Jackson was Leatherface and Bud wasn't. That did not make no sense to me at all. Also, it felt like Jackson didn't act like Leatherface at all. He didn't seem like Leatherface. He didn't act like Leatherface. He just sort of became Leatherface. And he gets his jaw shot off. He starts acting slow. He starts limping. Starts to go crazy. And it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. And I get it. It's like, well, he had a crazy family and stuff like that. But it's like, he at the beginning of the movie, in the middle of the movie, stuff like that, he was just a normal guy. by the end of the movie, he's a complete psychopathic killer. And they don't really do a good job of explaining that. They don't really do a good job of exploring that. He just sort of becomes a killer. And it's like, okay, why is he a killer? Why is he going psycho? I guess because he's mad at this girl because, in a way, she made him kill someone. Or, you know, maybe he's upset that, his family's like that. I don't know. And they did a good job of trying to make you sympathize with this character because, he's like, man, I just wish I was somebody else. And they put those scenes in there. And it's like, those are good scenes. You're building characters. You're giving them emotions. And, you're doing good character building. Good chemistry between the characters as well. And then you just sort of make him a crazy guy for no reason, a psychopathic killer. And it's like not really explained. And plus, everybody dies. The nurse dies, the sheriff dies, everyone pretty much dies in the movie. Bud dies, he gets shot in the head. Everybody dies, kind of like a typical prequel fashion. And, the end of the movie, I like the end of the movie because it kind of explains why in the first movie it's put on lipstick. Because, in the first movie and in part 4, in the first movie, it wasn't done as horribly, as it was in part 4. Part 4 is terrible because in that movie, they try to make him a freaking transgender, transvestite type thing going on there. But in the first movie, you can see he's wearing makeup in one scene, he's wearing lipstick, but they don't really explain why. And I like here, it's kind of like maybe he put the lipstick on to kind of remind him of his girlfriend because that nurse character was actually going to become his girlfriend. It was leading up to that, but he ended up, cutting her head off with a chainsaw. Good effect. Cutting her face off and getting the first mask. And he puts the lipstick on. I was kind of like, what I got from that was maybe he puts lipstick on to kind of remember his girlfriend. So I thought it really added a good reason behind that. And not that, it's a big detail or anything like that, but with that scene alone, it kind of made me go, oh, that's why he puts lipstick on, because maybe because he's wearing his girlfriend's face, maybe it reminds him of his girlfriend, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Just a theory, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, the movie is just well shot, well directed, has a lot of stuff going for it. Underrated. Definitely underrated. I can say that it's not as bad as a lot of people say it is. I honestly thought it was going to be much more worse when I was going into it. I was like, man, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be bad. It's not going to be good. And I ended up liking it. I think it's a pretty good movie for what it is. So yeah, if you're open-minded, you want a different type of movie, you want a different type of prequel, it's definitely got those things. It's a very different type of chainsaw movie. It could lead the franchise in a new direction, which is pretty cool. And overall, the movie just good. I liked it. It was good. Wasn't fantastic, but it was a good movie. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review on Leatherface, and I'll see you guys for the next review. Bye, guys. The Explorer 4 out.